Hi, and welcome to Ivy English. I'm Angela.
And I'm Wesley.
Today we're on the 5th page of the magazine, and it is October 1st. Happy October, everyone.
10月快乐.
Yes. Today we're going to talk about frogs, specifically seeing things through the eyes of a frog. We're going to put on frog's eyes today.
我们的中文标题，这篇文章中文标题是小小蛙眼真奇妙啊。那英文的标题呢，这个 see things through 就是透过的意思。我们要看事情呢，透过什么？透过 the eyes of a frog， 透过一个青蛙的眼睛来看事情啊。这是英文标题的意思。
Well, let's jump right in and read about frogs. Most people are familiar with frogs. They start out as tadpoles until they change into slimy little creatures that either hop or swim around. As amphibians, they breathe air, but can also absorb oxygen through water with their moist skin. For this reason, they spend most of their time in or around water. Many frogs use long, sticky tongues to catch insects, and they make distinctive noises at night. But one of frogs' most fascinating features is their eyes. Because frogs' eyes are on top of their heads, they can see almost 360 degrees around them at any time. This comes in handy when frogs are looking for food or avoiding predators. However, frogs also have about 90 degrees directly in front of them where both eyes can work together for depth perception. Frogs' eyes are also exceptionally sensitive to movement, which is a useful feature since a major part of their diet is made up of insects and other small animals. And frogs have amazing eyesight in the dark, with the ability to even see a wide range of colors. The trade-off for these advantages, however, is that frogs can't see very far, and their eyes have difficulty registering objects that aren't moving. Even more unusually, frogs don't just use their eyes to see. If you've ever seen a frog eat, you may have noticed that they swallow their prey whole with their eyes closed. This is because their eyes are actually helping push the meal down their throat. While this is probably not the most impressive thing about frogs' eyes, it might be the weirdest. Yet, things get even more bizarre when a frog eats something toxic. When that happens, they can eject their stomach. They truly are an interesting animal. That's a useful skill, ejecting your stomach. Do they grow a new one, or does it just turn inside out?
I have no idea.
They rinse it off, and then they put it back in. Like, that would be super useful.
Yeah, 如果你能够把胃吐出来啊，洗一洗再吞回去啊，那这个是蛮有用的哈，这样就以后就不会有人食物中毒了。
It's got to be painful, though.
Yeah, 那感觉这样一定会很痛哈，要把胃吐出来。
Yes. Okay, so frogs are wild. I didn't know that I knew that frogs had some interesting features, but I learned some things today.
Yeah. 今天这篇文章蛮有意思的哈。我们大家都知道青蛙，可是可能关于这些青蛙的事情，有的人可能不是那么了解。
I'm looking at frogs with new eyes now.
Yeah, 这个是个双关语哈。现在 Angela 老师说呢，他现在看青蛙有新的眼光了，但是英文是用这个 look at it with new eyes 那跟我们文章也是主题 eyes 是正好吻合。
Now, most people are familiar with frogs. To be familiar with means you know them. And familiar with means know to the level of you're like, oh, yeah, I know about frogs. Frogs.
就是熟悉的意思哈 be familiar with. 所以大多数人都很熟悉青蛙。青蛙对啊，青蛙我知道啊，对啊。
They start out as tadpoles. Tadpoles are those basically little black dot with a tail.
Yeah,
swimming around. And then they change into slimy little creatures that either hop or swim around. Now, slimy is a negative adjective. It means gross, disgusting, slimy.
Yeah, 负面的意思哈，就糊糊的那种感觉。
Yeah, but there's no really positive or even neutral ways to say slimy because English speakers as a whole don't like slime. But I think it's maybe humanity as a whole doesn't like slimy things.
I think you're right.
Yeah. But at least in English, it's reflected in the fact that we don't have a neutral way. Slippery is the best we can do.
好，那我们讲 slimy 这个字呢，它有那种负面的感觉哈，那就是黏黏的、黏糊糊的那种感觉。那 Angel 老师刚刚讲说，英文里面好像没有一个字可以描述那种黏糊糊的感觉，可是是正面的这样的一个字啊。那最好的就是一个你要描写那种 slimy， 然后用一个比较正面、稍微正面一点的字，大概最多你大概能想到就是 slippery， 就滑滑的意思啊。不过这个字可能是跟文化、跟人的天性都有关系。我想很少有人喜欢那种摸起来滑滑黏黏的那种东西。
It's true. And also, even slippery can be negative. If you describe a person as slippery, you're basically making them out to be a liar.Yeah,
但是即使 slippery 这个字，你如果用来形容人的话，它也可能是负面的啊。因为如果有一个人他很 slippery 哈，就是他很滑，就跟中文也是一样，中文讲油腔滑调啊，一样是滑滑的，那这种通常就也是变负面的了。所以呢，这个地方讲到说 ，they start out as tadpoles。好，那这个 start out 一开始是的意思。那英文里面，当你看到 start out 的时候呢，常常你就会 expect 后面大概表示事情有变化，才会说 start out。好，像有一首歌，我记得那歌词啊 ，We started out as friendship or something.
We started off as friends. Started out as friends.
We started out as friends. 啊，就我们一开始本来是朋友，但后来呢，the feeling has got stronger or something 那种感觉。
Sounds like a typical song.
所以这个地方start out 就是一开始的时候它是蝌蚪，因为它后来会不一样嘛，所以 start out 这个用法大家注意一下。你看到 start out， 你就要 get ready， 后面会有不同的改变啊。然后他说他们开始是蝌蚪，一直到他们 change into 变成 slimy 啊，黏糊糊的啊 little creatures 的小的生物。那这个小小的生物呢 ，that either 要么就是 hop 就会跳，要么就是 swim 游泳。around 就是四处，要么就四处跳，要么就四处游泳，这种感觉。
Now, as amphibians, they breathe air, but can also absorb oxygen through water with their moist skin. So, amphibians are not fish, and they're not fowl. Neither fish nor fowl is an English expression. They're neither a fish nor a bird, which is to say they're neither land animals nor sea animals.
好 ，amphibians 就是两栖的哈，它不是鸟哈，也不是飞行，也不是鱼哈。那这个 amph 这个字首就是 both 的意思啊。那这个 bian 就是 bio 就是 life， 所以 both lives 就是它在水上也可以，在水里面也可以生活，在陆地上也可以生活，叫两栖动物啊。所以它们是两栖动物，那它们就 breathe air， 它们会呼吸空气，但是也可以 absorb 就是吸收 oxygen 氧气 through water， 它们也可以透过水吸收氧气啊。那怎么样透过水吸收氧气呢？用的是它们的 moist skin 啊，它们那个湿润的皮肤啊 ，moist 是湿润的意思。
The other thing I know about frogs is because of the internet, apparently they don't drink with their mouths, they drink with their skins.
那他们 skin 这还蛮 useful 的哈。那另外一个 Angel 老师提到说，这个青蛙喝水呢，不是用舌头，不是用嘴喝水啊，他们是用透过他们的皮肤喝水。
So for this reason, the fact that they can breathe in water and they prefer being in water and they gotta drink with their skin, they spend most of their time in or around water.
For this reason 就是因为这个原因，他们 spend most of their time， 他们大多数的时间都在哪里度过呢？ In 或者是 around water， 要么就在水里面，要么就是在水的周围。
That's a useful way, actually, of saying that somebody spends a lot of time doing something. I spend a lot of time doing or listening to music. I spend a lot of time thinking about or playing music.
好，所以 spend a lot of time doing something， 这很棒、很有用、很实用的一个句型。
Now, many frogs use long, sticky tongues to catch insects, and they make distinctive noises at night. These things we all know.
Yeah.
Especially if you live in Zhanghua, like right now the frog noises are so loud.
Really?
Yeah.
所以呢，这个有很多青蛙呢，他们会用他们长长的 long， 那 sticky 就是有粘性的啊，这个舌头干嘛呢？来捕捉昆虫 catch insects， 然后他们会 make distinctive noises at night。好 ，distinctive 是独有的、独特的哈，蛙鸣非常的独特嘛哈。那 我想对大多数的人来讲，那个大概都是 noise 啊。对于住在都市住习惯的人来讲，所以晚上那个青蛙在那个蛙鸣声很大的时候，那声音又大，那有的人会觉得受不了啊。前一阵子就有一个新闻有一个这个高级社区的这个有钱人呢，就是想要灭掉他们那个附近池塘里面的青蛙啊，可是那个池塘的地主呢说不行，这个青蛙都是生物啊，都是生命，不可以这样子，那起了很大的争执。那些有钱人很受不了，因为他们的豪宅旁边晚上那个青蛙一直叫，他们非常受不了。Yeah.
But just because an animal irritates you is no reason to exterminate
That's
it.
the point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But one of frogs' most fascinating features is their eyes. Why did we not say the frogs? Because one way to say frog is to say the frogs, F-R-O-G''S. And that means we're talking about a representative frog that represents all of the frogs for our purposes. But that's not what happened here. Our author chose the plural form of frog to represent all frogs. And then they made it plural by adding the apostrophe after the S.
好，那这地方为什么我们不说 one of the frogs 啊？为什么不加定冠词呢？因为定冠词后面加一个复数名词呢，常常表达的是特定的啊。那有的时候如果说名词，我们也可以直接说 the 加一个单数的名词，但这个时候提的是一个 representative， 是一种有代表性的这样的一种生物。好，这生物里面一个有代表性的一只，有的时候讲的是概念啊。那在这里呢，这个 frog 并没有特定，它就指一般泛指一般的青蛙，好，所以这个地方没有冠词。
The other thing is when you're choosing between using a singular representative or a plural representative is what happened in the rest of your paragraph. Our paragraph is always talking about plural frogs. If we then suddenly started talking about a single frog, the reader might think, oh, are we talking about a single special frog now? So you have to be consistent. If the whole time, the whole paragraph, we were talking about the frog as a representative example, then we would use the frog in this last sentence.
那另外一个呢，你要区分说要用没有冠词的复数名词啊来泛指，还是说你要用 the 加单数的普通名词啊来泛指。这两个选择要素之一，还要看你整个段落。你如果整个段落讲的都是复数的，那这个时候你当然就要用复数的比较好一点啊。那如果你整个段落讲的都是单数的，一直讲青蛙，而且感觉那个概念是一只一只的，那这个时候你用单数就可以。好，那这个其实如果你听了我们以上解释还是没有很确定的话，那要多注意，因为这是英文里面很难的一部分啊，大部分的人都搞不清楚啊。那但是你如果多注意，多想一想，还要多听听刚刚 Angela 老师的解释，你慢慢就会敢抓到那个要诀。好，所以这里讲说青蛙最 fascinating 就是令人着迷的features 特色或者特征之一，其实是他们的眼睛。
Now, because frogs' eyes are on top of their heads, which is useful. This is useful. Why? Because they can see almost 360 degrees around them at any time. They can see almost an entire circle. Our humans' eyes are on the front of our heads, so we can see about a little over 180. Some people get more than 180. They get maybe 200, 220, depending on where their eyes are. But we're not going to get 360 because our skull is in the way.
好，所以像人类的眼睛在正前方，所以我们大概看到一般人大概就看到180度左右那但是呢，青蛙不一样，因为青蛙他们的眼睛呢是 on top of their heads， 是在他们头上这个 on top of 你可以把它看成是个介系词所以 on top of their heads 就在他们头上。你也可以说 on the top of their heads， 但是那样子的话就很强调 the top 把那个 the top 把它强调出来了那就不是一个介系词的概念了，是 on the top of their heads 那种感觉。但在这里 on top of 很顺它就是一个介系词的用法。所以他们眼睛在他们头上，那所以他们可以看到几乎360度 around 就是四周他们四周360度都看得到around them。然后呢 at any time 任何时候都看得到360度，所以他们可以看到360度的这个角度。
Now this comes in handy when frogs are looking for food or avoiding predators, both things for which you need very good vision. If you're looking for food, especially if your food is the kind of thing that flies through the air,
Yeah.
you want to have pretty wide-ranging vision, and you want eyes on the top of your head.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of the term eyes on stalks?
No.
It just means that somebody is so alert that they can see everything. And it's as like their eyes have lifted up on stalks to the top of their head like a snail.
Oh, okay. How do you spell stalks?
Stalks, S-T-A-L-K-S.
哦，好像是这个一个杆子一样，所以好像那个眼睛好像一根杆子伸出去的，高高的，像潜望镜那样子。Yeah.
Because we all realize that, if you had eyes on the top of your head, you can see a lot. And especially if you want to avoid predators, you want eyes on stalks.
Yeah, 尤其是你如果说想要躲避那个掠食者的话，那眼睛最好越高越好，拿个高高的杆子把它撑起来，这样什么都看得到。所以这里讲到说 this comes in handy. Comes in handy 这个片语呢，很多时候可以 comes in handy 就是很好用comes in handy 就是很好用，你就把它背起来comes in handy very useful 的意思。所以当青蛙在找食物，在觅食或者在躲避掠食者的时候，这很有用。
However, frogs also have about 90 degrees, which is a quarter of a circle, directly in front of them, where both eyes can work together for depth perception. And this is super important. The reason why humans have two eyes on the front of our heads and that they're basically on the same plane is so that we can judge distance. You need to have two eyes in basically the same place, but slightly offset from each other in order to see how far away something is. This is why when you lose an eye, it's very bad. You can still see, but you can't judge how far the cup is away from you to pick it up. So frogs and, like humans, also need depth perception, especially when they're jumping. So even though their eyes are up there and they can wiggle around and see lots of things, they also need to be able to work together and see how far something is away from them. And so a quarter of their vision can work for that.
好，不过呢，这里讲到说，青蛙它们大概也有90度的范围，directly in front of them， 它们正前方大概有90度的范围。在这范围里面呢，它两个眼睛可以 work together， 可以协力，可以合作一起工作，目的是要得到 depth perception， 叫深度的感测。那其实它就是指一个3度空间的距离感。我们的眼睛，我们的两个眼睛一起就可以产生一个立体的3度空间，然后就可以测出距离。那这个对我们人类来讲非常重要，那其实对什么动物来讲都很重要。那青蛙的话呢，它大概只有90度的范围，它可以有这个 depth perception.
Now, frogs' eyes are also exceptionally sensitive to movement. They really can see movement easily, which is a useful feature since a major part of their diet is made up of fast-moving insects and other small animals.
青蛙的眼睛也是 exceptionally 就是格外的 sensitive to 敏感，对什么敏感呢？对 movement， 对动作很敏感。那这个 which 就是指它对动作很敏感这件事情呢，是很 useful 很有用的一个 feature 一个特色。因为 a major part of their diet， 他们食物里面有很大一部分 is made up of 是由什么组成的呢？是由 insects 昆虫还有其他的小动物 other small animals。好，所以他们要对动物在运动中的东西它要很敏感。
And frogs have amazing eyesight in the dark. They really have it all. They can even see a wide range of colors in the dark, which very few animals can do.
Yeah. 然后呢，青蛙它们有 amazing 非常惊人的 eyesight 视力 in the dark。他们在黑暗当中也有很惊人的视力然后呢，同时它 with the ability to 就是他们有这个能力可以 even 可以看到怎么样。See a wide range of colors 就是一个范围很广的，就是多种不同的颜色，所以他们也还看得到颜色，而且看到不少的颜色。
But they don't have it all because with eyesight, you always have a trade-off. You can either have A or you can have B. You can trade A for B or you can trade B for A, but you can't have both. So the trade-off for these advantages, for the fact that they can see colors in the dark, they can see fast-moving things, the trade-off is that they can't see very far. And their eyes have difficulty registering or noticing or being aware of objects that aren't moving.
好 trade-off 就是一种妥协或者是你的其实就是代价了你有两样东西 A 跟 B， 你有 A 可是你很想要 B那这个时候你就会决定 A 我也很喜欢，可是为了要得到 B 我只好把 A 给别人，把 B 换回来，这就是 trade-off。 所以这里讲到说他说这些 advantages 他前面眼睛有这么多的优点，可是他的代价他必须要用什么东西去换呢？ 它的代价就是说青蛙 can't see very far， 它没办法看得很远，然后它们的眼睛呢 have difficulty， 会有困难registering 这个字呢本来是注册的意思 register， 但在这里是 become aware of 的意思，就是意识到或者注意到的意思。他们的眼睛很难注意到 objects that aren't moving 所以没有在动的东西他们眼睛很难注意到，所以他们的掠食者就会利用这一点来捕捉它们。
Even more unusually, frogs don't just use their eye to see. So if something is unusual, it's weird, but to be more unusual is even more weird. And here we're using it as an adverb. We're saying even more unusually.
Yeah, 所以更不寻常的是，因为它修饰全句嘛，所以它是用副词。更不寻常的是什么呢？是青蛙它们 don't just use， 它们不是只用 their eyes 眼睛去看，换句话说，它们眼睛有其他的作用。
If you've ever seen a frog eat, you may have noticed that they swallow their prey whole. They don't have teeth. They don't chew their prey. They just... And they do this with their eyes closed. They always close their eyes to swallow. And I thought, personally, it's so that their eyes don't pop out when they're swallowing. But no, it's even weirder.
所以如果你看过青蛙进食吃东西的话呢，你也许会注意到 you may have noticed 你也许有注意到说他们 swallow their prey whole swallow whole 就是整个吞进去，所以他们的猎物是整个吞进去的，然后呢 with their eyes closed 他们眼睛是闭起来的。
And this is because their eyes are actually helping push the meal down their throat. What? Sorry, what? Why would you use your eyes for that? Why?
Well, it's because it's in the right position, I suppose.
Yes, but your eyes are basically part of your brain. Okay, so your brain is now a part of your digestive system. I'm sorry, that's a step too far.
所以真的很多人会觉得很意外所以呢，他说他们的眼睛闭起来，这是为什么呢？ This is because their eyes are 他们的眼睛 are actually helping 他们的眼睛事实上会帮忙 push the meal down their throat 会帮忙把食物推下他们的喉咙那 the meal 就是指他们吃下去的东西所以这是非常厉害的一个地方。
While this is probably not the most impressive thing about frogs' eyes, it might be the weirdest. If something is impressive, it makes you go, wow, and weirdest makes you go, whoa.
好，所以呢 while 虽然这也许不是关于青蛙的眼睛最让人最觉得 impressive 就是令人啧啧称奇的事情，这也许不是最让你觉得意外啧啧称奇的事情，但是这可能是最奇怪的 weirdest 就是这真的是很怪用眼睛帮忙推食物到他们的喉咙里面去。
I'm going to say that's pretty darn impressive. Can you swallow with your eyeballs?
I don't think so.
That's impressive. Yet, things get even more bizarre when a frog eats something toxic. Things get even weirder when a frog eats something that is poisonous to it.
Toxic 就是 poisonous 所以呢这个 bizarre 是非常怪诞的所以事情会更加的怪诞当青蛙吃下了有毒的东西的时候，这个他所做的事情你会觉得更匪夷所思。
When that happens, when they eat something toxic, they can eject their stomach. Eject means to push out. Like when pilots' planes are going down and they say, eject! And then the planes, the pilot's chair goes, pshh, and they shoot out of the plane.
Yeah, 因为 E 就是 out, 那个 eject 这个字根就是 throw 的意思，所以 eject 就 throw out 就弹射。好，所以当他们 when that happens， 当他们吃下有毒的东西的时候，他们可以把他们的胃弹出来。
They truly are an interesting animal.
他们真的是很有趣的动物。
Now we have some questions here for you, number one of which is, what is the purpose of the first paragraph?
第一段的目的是什么呢？
The answer is C, to introduce frogs' familiar features.
介绍大家熟悉的蛙的特征。
Number two, which is closest in meaning to the word trade-off in the third paragraph?
何者的意义最接近第三段的 trade off？
The answer is D, cost is pretty close to the idea of trade-off.
好，答案是 D， 代价，这个跟 trade off 的意思差不多。
Number three, which of the following is not true about how frogs eat?
以下关于蛙进食的方式，哪一个是错的？
The answer is A, they chew their food. This is not true.
答案是 A， 他们会咀嚼食物，不对，因为他们整个吞下去。
And number 4, according to the passage, which picture best represents a frog's vision?
根据本文，哪张图片最能够表达蛙看到的景象呢？
The answer is D, because the background is blurry, they can't see that far, but they've noticed the insect.
答案是 D 因为第3段提到它没有办法看得很远，所以眼前飞动的蜻蜓看起来应该会很清楚，但是远方的景色看起来应该会很模糊，所以答案是 D。
Okay, that's all we have for you about frog's vision, but please join us again tomorrow for more exciting and interesting things